can see we have our beanies on because we're heading toward Glacier Bay. Actually, we're kind of there. And it's really cold in Glacier Bay. It's like 40 as the high in August. So I'll let your minds wander about how cold it gets in the winter. But there's lots of wildlife like otters and seals and
sea lions and puffins maybe.
Sometimes orcas, otherwise known as killer whales. I really want to see one of those. So that's today, but we're not getting off the boat. This is a purely from boat kind of day.
Relaxing and see lots of fun animals.
That's right. Hopefully we see some stuff.
We've already seen some otters. First destination in Glacier Bay is Marble Island, which is known for sea lions, but we're also seeing otters and puffins, which are super cute.
Puffins.
For the bears, though.
We saw a bear.
We saw a bear. We're in an inlet where they often see bears. So we're just hanging out for a while, see if we see any more. Fog's been rolling in. Apparently we can see the bear again.
Bear's at the 2 o'clock position. Let's go find him.
That looks like a really big one. Big bear.
They went into town, so they might slow down.
You know what I love about this?
What?
It's the color of the water.
It looks fake. It looks like what people dye their like pools in, and you're always like, well, don't want to go swimming in that. That's what it looks like. I also don't want to go swimming in this because there's ice floating past us. But it's gorgeous.
We're approaching all the glaciers and we're bundled up again.
We are, because it is chilly, but the glaciers are right at the water's edge, and there's ice floating past, and it's pretty fabulous.
Your layer, grab your scarf, grab your gloves, grab your jacket. It's pretty cold out there.
So we're leaving Glacier Bay.
We are.
And you know what? I have an idea. You know what?
What?
Remember way back when we filmed like actually interesting stuff and I would include my photos in the video? That's one of the things that you guys really liked, but I haven't been doing that because we haven't been doing anything. But now we have, so
Get ready for a photo montage.
I present to you some Alaskan photos. Roll it.
One animal that we have not yet seen. One animal left on my list.
On the bucket list for Alaska.
On the bucket list. And we just saw that animal. From a great distance,
Yes.
but we still saw.
So the pictures won't be the best, but we saw a mama and baby orca in the wild.
AKA killer whales.
So happy. Because they're very unusual. They don't normally see them on the cruises. It's just like once in a while. And we saw them.
Woot.
Along with our bears and our moose and our puffins and our seals and our sea lions and
humpback
the eagles
whales.
and the
Yeah.
humpback whales. I think we've been doing pretty good animal-wise. barely raining right now. It's not bad.
Tell them the bad news.
So the weather in Petersburg is not cooperating, and our seaplane flight was canceled, which is sad. But we're still gonna go into town and walk around and see what there is to see.
You're breaking the wall, Courtney.
I'm leaving.
That's the coolest thing ever.
It is. I don't think
Look at all the different kinds.
sleeping bag.
I know.
Okay, we're gonna have to get one of those.
Okay, well, pick which one you want. Do you like this one?
I kind of like the green.
Okay, well then we'll get the green one.
So we do 4 on, 8 off for watches, so that covers us for 8 hours of navigation, each of us up here. And then we still owe the company 4 hours because the maritime world is 12 hours anymore. It's not 8 hours, it's 12-hour day. For any engineering types, I have on the security camera the engine room showing there, over there, because that's off limits to anybody. The deckhand will stand here and one of us will either sit or nervously pace back and forth. Just kidding. So this. Well, let me get to the basics first. So we have the engines. We have 2 main engines. They are Caterpillar diesels, 1,500 horsepower each, so combined 3,000. That propels us through the water at about 10 to 12 knots. This dock is a lot smaller than our ship. Yeah. So we stick over at both ends, which is not a real great thing. So our mooring lines have to go this way instead of that way. We got 6,000 gallons of fuel today. So we can't hog the fuel dock. They have other vessels coming here, so we're going back to that one, the float dock, until we departed somewhere around like 1 in the morning or something. So.
Do you have 4 propellers? Because it looks like you have 4 thrusts.
Anybody want to venture a guess what those 3 levers are there? I'm sure you felt it.
Weapons?
Yes. No, the thrusters.
Thrusters, yes.
So yeah, we have a bow and a stern thruster. What they are is tunnels in the hull, actual hole in the hull, if you will, all the way through, and in the middle there's a propeller. Smaller one than our propulsion ones. These are only about a 3-foot diameter. So just like the engines, which I think everybody can appreciate, when I want to go ahead or we go ahead, the propellers turn in one direction. When we go into the neutral, the props stop. And when we want to go astern for any reason, they reverse direction. So let's say I wanted to do a right-hand turn or so. I might have the deckhand go to right 10 or so, the vessel would start turning. As I said, in my bag of tricks, I have the thrusters. So if I wanted to increase the rate of turn to starboard, the bow would go further because this is starting to activate now. The propeller's turning, the thrust is going out there. If I wanted to get even crazier, I could put the thrust the other way on the stern, and it's going to kick the stern out that way. So I think everybody grasped the concept of radar. Scanners up there that are rotating, sends an electronic wave out. Anything that it senses as a solid object is return, a target if you will, which shows up as yellow in this case. We're in the middle there of that scope of that indicator, so our bow is facing that way, heads up, due north on that one. So anything to the right, the yellow, is Petersburg over there. Automatic identification system. It's a transponder based system. So we have a transponder up there, as other vessels do, larger vessels that are required to. The small guys are not required to, like pretty much everyone out here in the harbor, in the marina, if you will. But they can. It's optional. They might have transponders. They might not.
And if you're wondering what we do in the stateroom here at night, well, it's not much. Let me show you.
This is Courtney assuming her position in bed, reading her Kindle. Ding, 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 ding. That's basically what you do most of the night until you go to sleep.
Yes, so here we can turn on the TV and watch the nighttime entertainment if we don't want to actually go to it. I think tonight there are going to be some children coming in from here in Petersburg. It's called Little Norway because they have a lot of Norwegian heritage, and they're going to come and do some traditional dances. But I think we're going to watch from here instead of going to see it.
probably true. And over on my side, so you can see I have a little desk here, and I'm working on this very video you're watching. I have my cell phone here for later. Maybe I'll go through Instagram. And I'm reading this book, a John Sanford book. And that's about it. Not much different than what we do at home, quite frankly. It's just that our house isn't moving at home as it is here. But tomorrow, we're going to another glacier, and that is our last full day on the cruise.
You can tell it calves more here too. It's like lots more jaggedness.
And this is Sawyer Glacier, one of the two I think we're going to see here. And we just saw a bit of ice fall off of the glacier, which you just happened to be at the right place at the right time. I got some photos of it, pictures here. That was pretty cool.
It was really cool. It's beautiful blue.
Yeah, really deep, rich blue.
The blue is because the ice has been compressed over so many years to be so dense. That's what causes the blue color. It's the only light that can get through it or bounce off of it or something. But they were joking about how you can take a piece of glacier ice and use it to chill a drink all day long because it doesn't melt like regular ice. It takes a really, really long time to melt.
It's so dense. Yeah, it's really cool. We were just at North
Sawyer
Glacier, and now
South.
we're at South. There's sun.
There's sun.
Haven't seen sun in days.
I know, it feels so nice.
We are heading back to Juneau, Alaska. This is the last hurrah. We're going to spend one more night here. We're actually going to be docked at the dock we're going to disembark from tonight, but we're not going to leave the ship until tomorrow. So there's one more meal here, dinner tonight, and then we will be on our way tomorrow. One of my gifts from Alaska, a koozie in the shape of like a dude wearing a flannel jacket. The coolest thing ever. Anyway, as you can see, we're back in Arizona from our Alaskan cruise. And we got a number of questions from people who are thinking of taking an Alaskan cruise, and they want our impressions of our cruise and American Cruise Lines, which is the cruise line that we use. So for the rest of this video, we're going to talk a little bit about our impressions and whether we would do it again.
So the reason we took this cruise was because my father, this was his bucket list cruise. He wanted to go to Alaska. He wanted to do it on a small boat. Our ship could handle 170 passengers, I think. I think we were at like 160, so we were almost full. American Cruise Lines is one of the smaller cruise lines that do Alaskan cruises. Normally you have some of the big boats like Carnival and Princess and
Some of them were
New
huge.
Holland and Norwegian.
This was not like that.
No. Other small ones include National Geographic, which I think are supposed to cater slightly to people more our age. American Cruise Lines is definitely older. We were the youngest ones there.
By generations.
Yeah.
Or at least decades.
Except for the crew, obviously.
Except for the crew.
So, but we were definitely the youngest passengers there. My parents were more of the average age. Actually, they were probably a little on the lower end of the average age for the cruise line. But that being said, we still had an awesome experience.
So let's talk numbers. We spent $12,000 for a 7-day cruise along the Alaskan Inner Passage. We were never out to sea. We were always around land in some way, shape, or form. We had a couple days where we were only on the boat, but most days we got to get out and do some excursions. But we were like middle of the road. We paid $12,000 to be on level 3, the third deck of the boat. There was one step higher to be on decks 4 or 5 or something like that, where you pay $16,000 or Don't quote me on the exact numbers, but it was a step up. And you get a slightly bigger room, and you're higher up on the deck, so in theory you have
Fridge
you have
and
better
things like
views.
that, yeah.
You have a fridge, but there was also a lower step in the neighborhood of like $9,000 or $10,000, where you're on floor 1 and 2. So you get a slightly not nice view, I guess. But I think the rooms were similar to the one that we had.
Yeah. So we actually really liked our room. We don't think we would actually get a bigger room.
I would do the same room again.
I would do the same room again.
Absolutely.
It was awesome. The balcony was awesome. And yeah, we just really enjoyed it. It was a very nice sized room. I've only been on one other cruise. It was a Norwegian cruise. And this room and bathroom was quite a bit bigger than what I remember the Norwegian cruise being. Steve's never been on another cruise, so.
So let's talk pros and cons. The pros. The boat was nice, the room was nice, the shower was nice, like instant hot water. So the niceties, the comforts of home, I think, for the most part, were there.
The crew were awesome.
The crew was nice. The captain brought us in. You saw a little bit of that in this video to get a tour of the pilot house and things like that. So the crew was really nice. They always went out of their way to try to help.
Hot chocolate bar. They had some fun things on the boat. So hot chocolate bar, hot apple cider bar. The entertainers were awesome. They were also very well educated, and they had some really interesting talks. And I really liked that you could either go and be in person and see them, or you could just watch on your TV in your room. That was really
without
good.
leaving the room, which a couple days we felt a little under the weather, so we just watched the entertainment from our room.
Exactly.
It worked perfectly.
I also like that with a small boat, you kind of got to know people a little bit, and that the boat itself could go places the big boats can't. So one of the days, the last day, we were in Tracy Arm to see the Sawyer Glacier, right? And the big boats can't even get in there. So it was us and like a National Geographic cruise little boat, and then a couple small boats from Juneau. That's it.
Yeah, the big cruise liners.
Big cruise lines, and like so that's kind of cool, is that we get to actually stay in our room and go and look at these beautiful glaciers and not have to take an excursion to go see them.
There were some cons, however, and I think was talking with the other crew members or the other passengers on the cruise ship, we all kind of agree the food service could have been better. There's just one big dining room where everybody goes at about the same time, so the kitchen is just flooded with orders right off the bat every single time you go in. And we've had times where we got our food within 20, 25 minutes, but other times we've had to wait an hour and a half. We spoke to a couple people who waited over 2 hours from the point that they ordered their food to the point where they actually got their food.
And that doesn't seem to be normal from what we've read. And we noticed that as we were leaving, they were bringing on an executive chef for the next cruise. So
could be unrelated, or maybe it is. Who knows?
I have a feeling there were some complaints and some things that went wrong. So don't judge the whole cruise line based on our experience there. I would say, though, being someone with food allergies, they make a big point of asking about that before you go, but they didn't really have it set up so that they were prepared for people with food allergies. And so often what that meant for me was just not eating portions of the meal, normally the carbs. So whereas Steve got dessert with every meal, multiple desserts, cookies
dessert was like the best
twice
part
a day.
Many of the meals.
It was like he was set in terms of sweets. I had a few meals where I couldn't really do much of the appetizer, and I only ate half the dinner, and I didn't get a dessert. So that's mostly just because I have food allergies, but I feel like they could do a little better there.
Yeah, and I think part of that is because the boat was so small. You didn't have multiple restaurants like you would at larger cruise lines. You got one option. You're going there when you eat.
Yeah, I mean, there are a few options on the menu. The menu has like 3 things
Generally
every
3
meal.
things to choose from. Yeah.
But that's just a thing. And then the other thing with that is the fact that there is that one restaurant. You don't have assigned seating. You don't have to go to a specific time like some of the other cruise lines, but you do have big tables, and that means you're going to be sitting with other people and making small talk, which is fine.
That could be a pro or it could be a con, depending on who you are.
We're not the biggest into small talk, and so after a few days of that, we were kind of done with having to introduce ourselves and talk throughout dinner and lunch. So but that's just the way something like that's going to be, and if you like talking to people, then that's perfect. And they did have options. They had a early bird option for lunch and breakfast that lets you, instead of coming to the dining room, go up to one of the lounges and just serve yourself a little buffet style, so you didn't have to do that. And we did that occasionally. but you didn't have as many options food-wise. So there was that option out there too.
And one more con from the trip. Some of the adventures, the excursions, seemed somewhat disorganized. That's not necessarily the fault of American Cruise Line, like somebody was at our dock when we pulled up a big cruise ship. And the law of gross tonnage means they stay there, we're out.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it wasn't necessarily something that they could have foreseen, but like the dock that you dropped somebody off at was not necessarily the dock that the passengers come back to get back to the boat, so people were a little bit confused. So I think there was a little bit of confusion and disorganization regarding the excursions that we did.
That was, again, you said outside of their control. There was a landslide in Skagway, and so a bunch of the big ships couldn't go where they were supposed to, so they were going other places. And
Like where we were going.
Yeah. So things like that can't really help, but yeah.
Was it worth it?
I think it was. I think the experience was awesome. I think the memories are awesome. Steve's photography was phenomenal.
The photos were great. I mean,
Yeah.
I don't mean to toot my own horn. I almost never do that. And I really don't. But the photo opportunities in Alaska were second to none.
Could we have gotten that on a big ship? Probably. With a lot more people
Some of
around,
them, yeah.
I think, because even the excursions themselves, I mean, when you're the only boat in port and you only have 150 people that might even go out and do something, it's not like when you have 5,000 people in the same port all trying to do the same excursions, and so you have lots of people around you even when you're trying to see the wildlife. So that is something that was a plus with being on a smaller boat. So would you do it again?
I think I would, but I might have some reservations about paying $12,000.
Yeah.
There was certain expectations that I had going in, and I was led to believe that didn't really meet my expectations, especially regarding the quality of the food and the liquor available. It wasn't low quality by any means, but
And it was open bar.
It was open bar, happy hour every day, all the drinks you could possibly want. So they didn't like cut you off or anything. So it's not like that necessarily, but like Jim Beam bourbon and Tanqueray gin, it's like middle of the road stuff. But for the price for a 7-day cruise, paying $12,000, and some people paid more than that, I kind of expected a little bit more from that perspective. So I would say I would definitely do a cruise again, but I would try to find a cheaper option. But if booze is not your thing and you don't really care about top shelf food, I would absolutely do it again.
Cruises to Alaska are expensive regardless. Yes, this is a lot more expensive than one of the big ship cruises, but that's because it's not a big ship. So it is actually a very pretty standard price for the size of the ship in Alaska. You gotta think it's kind of like a river cruise in like Viking or something in Europe, which we're also would love to do someday. But
We're considering that for in the future.
that may be my mother's bucket list cruise she wants to do. Yeah. So yes, we're not going to go on another American Cruise Lines cruise anytime soon because it's just not our age group. And we did the big one we wanted to do, which is Alaska. And if we're going to do a cruise, we'll probably do something cheaper just because that's who we are and it makes more sense for us. But if the opportunity arose in the future, we would definitely go again.
So scale of 1 to 10. American Cruise Lines, based on our one cruise. Obviously 10 being the best.
It's cheating to say 7, huh?
That was my answer. I was gonna say 7, but most people say 7.
I know.
So if I had to err on one side or the other, I'd probably go with 8, even though it was a little more expensive than I would have liked.
Yes, I would as well.
All right, good.
Yeah.
Well, I hope that review helped. If you have any other specific questions, let us know. I'll be glad to answer them in the comments or record a new video if you have enough questions. But that's it for this one. We are back here at home. It's cooling off, drying out, so that's certainly something that I am looking forward to.
Yeah.
It's not so
It's
humid.
becoming fall. It's getting into the 50s in the morning.
Football season. In fact, the first game is, well, you'll see this Tuesday. So the first game was last Thursday.
Yeah. Someone's very
I'm looking
excited.
forward to that.
Yeah.
I like football. Anyway, that's it for this video. Cheers. Cheers. I love this koozie.
He's so excited.
I love this koozie. It's got it even has a zipper. I mean, come on. And these handholds, so these don't come out. You don't even have to touch your beer.
Bye, guys.
It's nice. I keep accidentally flipping them off, though. I don't mean to do that. It's just the way I don't